And that also leads, I think, to a change in mindset. One of the things that characterizes the modern mind is we like everything to be instant. Partly because most of the people we know think this life is all that we've got. They want everything to happen in this life. They want everything to be happening now. We don't want to save for things. We want to use our credit cards. We don't want to wait to go on holiday. We want to go on holiday now. We want instant gratification. And that bleeds over into the church. We all live in that world. We're all shaped by that. And it can even shape our attitude to good things. That when we think about, well, we want society to be better, we want society to be a place where kids are safe from people imposing freakish gender ideologies upon them and mutilating their bodies. We want society to be a good place for everybody to live, but we need to realize the depth of the problem is such that we're not going to achieve that next week. We're not going to achieve that next year. I'm in my 50s. I doubt we're going to achieve anything like it, even in my lifetime. So does that mean that I should do nothing? The danger then is that one can be tempted to despair, and despair makes us passive and impotent in the face of the challenges that we face. We need to be thinking in terms of our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren. Like the makers, the builders of the great medieval cathedrals, who on the first day of laying the foundations knew they would never live to worship in those cathedrals and yet thought they were worth building. We need to be thinking in those terms. The youth worker of today, praise God, may see fruit for his or her work among the young people she works with, but may not. But that doesn't mean that the work isn't worth doing. Think of the second thief on the cross. Even he acknowledges he deserves to die on the cross, and yet he knows that God is holy. He knows that Jesus is dying a death that is different to the one that he is dying. He knows that he's a sinner, and he knows, most amazingly of all, that Christ's death is going to be the entryway into the kingdom. The religious rulers, the soldiers, they're mocking Christ, saying, if you're the king of the Jews, come down from the cross. The second thief understands that Christ's death is his entryway into heaven. Raises the question, where does he learn this stuff? He doesn't learn it on the cross. God could have beamed it into his brain, but the text doesn't tell us that. I think he was taught it as a kid. It was of no relevance to him at all throughout his life. Even he says he deserves to die. It was of no relevance to him until the moment when it was the only relevant thing to him. And I think that that's how pastors, preachers, youth leaders, youth workers, ordinary Christians need to think. That we do the right thing, we do it graciously and humbly, knowing that our graciousness and our humility may not be recognized by those we're speaking to. And we do it knowing that we may never see the fruit, but knowing that the Lord has promised that there will be fruit. In terms of words of encouragement, the times are dark, but they are not as dark as they have been for many Christians throughout the centuries. Christians being subjected to empire-wide persecution in the 3rd century, for example. Christians operating in Stalin's Russia or behind the Iron Curtain. Christians in China today or North Korea. We in the West, for all of the darkness of our times, there are still encouragements for us. We still have freedom to worship at this point. We still have relatively comfortable lives compared to many Christians throughout the centuries. So first of all, we mustn't despair too much. We should lament what's going on, but we should also acknowledge the Lord has given us many good things at this particular point in time. Secondly, we should remember that the promises hold good. Promise to the church, there will be a marriage feast of the Lamb. The bride will be given to the bridegroom at the end of time. That's not a promise to any particular denomination or parachurch organization or nation. My denomination could disappear, but the church will continue to the end of time. The church cannot be destroyed. So we should rejoice in the fact that we know how the story ends, even as we're caught in the midst of the struggle and the fight. Thirdly, I think we should be grateful for the immense privilege we have. We live in dark times, yes, and we have been given the privilege of carrying the torch of truth for the next generation. That can be a thankless task. That can be a hard task, but it's a glorious task. That, if you like, humanly speaking, the continuation of the gospel in these dark times has been given to us. We should rejoice in that. We should be thankful for that, and we should pray that the Lord equips us for that task. you.